In the first scene, we see a mage, Mash, rushing to the situation room for briefing. She is 2 minutes late, hence the need for her to rush. She enters the room where her master, Fujimaru, and Dr. Roman are waiting for her. They are all members of a secret mage organization known as Chaldea. They have successfully completed preparations for the Ray Shift technology, which is basically a time travel technology. They are preparing to travel to the 7th singularity. This is the last singularity in which Solomon sent into the past himself. The recovery for the last Holy Grail rests solely on the team. This is all in a bid to prevent the end of humanity, which is stated to happen in the year 2017. Their goal is to visit the whole Grand Order. The Grand Order comprises Orlean, Septim, Okeanos, London, the American continent, and Camelot. They have visited the mentioned 6, and the last one on the list is one of the world's oldest civilizations in 2600 BC, the end of the Age of Gods, which is the land of ancient Mesopotamia. It is also a world before the Christian era. They are in the middle of this conversation when another woman, Da Vinci, enters. She decides to give them lectures about the civilization they are traveling to. They have visited 6 so far, and this is by far the most dangerous of all. Mash has a pet fox, Fu, who follows her around. Moments later, Fujimaru and Mash enter the time travel machine and are ready to be transported to ancient Mesopotamia. The machine is activated, and they are soon sent back in time. The duo finds themselves free falling from the sky, and Mash uses her weapon to act as a shield for them to land on. They soon realize that they didn't land at the city of Uruk, which they were targeting. Those at HQ deduce that there is some sort of boundary around the city, and this is why the duo were not able to land there. The duo have a communication device on their wrist that allows them to communicate with HQ. Fujimaru also has control over the 3 command spells. They suddenly lost connection with those at the HQ, but they are confident that communications will come back. Seconds later, they are surrounded by demonic beasts. Mash is tasked to fight and defeat the monsters while Fujimaru just stands there looking. After defeating the monsters, the duo decides that it will be best for them to move away from the ruined city. Suddenly, they see a woman in golden armor falling from the sky. She lands on Fujimaru and doesn't even show any sign of remorse. She even acts arrogantly, like it's Fujimaru's fault that she fell on him. The woman appears to be surprised that the duo doesn't know who she is. The duo tells her that they are not from around there. They tell her the purpose of their visit and which organization they work for. The two introduce themselves to the woman, but the woman refuses to tell them her own name. Just then, a bunch of demonic beasts surround them again. The woman wastes no time in wiping out the monsters very easily. This shows the duo that she is a very powerful person. Another batch of monsters shows up again. The woman leaves them to deal with the monsters and flies away. The duo is completely surrounded and there is no way out. Just then, a man arrives and eliminates the monsters with his magic powers. He introduces himself to the duo as Enkidu. He appears to know who Fujimaru is and where he came from. Communications with the HQ are restored, and Dr. Roman is shocked to find out that the duo is in the presence of Enkidu. He says Enkidu is a weapon of the celestial beings. He was created to defeat Gilgamesh and return him to the Celestials. He is considered a hero that even the powerful Gilgamesh couldn't defeat. Enkidu offers to guide the two to the city of Uruk. Enkidu says he is aware of the situation. The Holy Grail disrupted time, the alteration of history by those who were given the Grail. The Mage King created singularities from them in order to make the foundation of humanity collapse. The duo's aim is to prevent this by retrieving the Holy Grail. Enkidu tells the duo that he was sent by the priestess of Uruk to protect the guests from afar. Enkidu says he would like to take a direct route south, but it is somewhat dangerous. Enkidu further adds that the 3 divinity alliances are the enemy of humanity. They have taken roughly 60% of the lands of Mesopotamia. Mash is surprised that the divine beings are against humans when they should be the ones protecting humanity. Enkidu informs them that the 3 divinity alliances' goal is to incinerate humanity. This is the same thing the Mage King wants to do. One of the 3 divine beings is the divine being of the demonic beasts. The demonic beasts she created are the ones ravaging the land. To counter all these, humanity has built something. Enkidu takes them to a hill and points to the distance. He regards it as the hope of humanity, the final and largest fortress to protect the 4 corners of the world. The fortress is known as the Absolute Demonic Front, Babylonia. Enkidu adds that the soldiers at the wall have been pushing back the demonic monsters for 6 months now. Enkidu continues to take the duo through the woods. He says there is a boat docked at the other side which they can make use of. Mash wonders why they are going farther away from Uruk. Just then, a man and woman appear from the woods. He assures the group that he is not their enemy, and he just wants to talk to them. He reveals that he was lost and he is even surprised to have run into humans in the demonic territory. Enkidu asks if he is willing to come with them because they are heading to Uruk. The man asks them to introduce themselves, and when he hears the name Enkidu, he says there is a big problem. He tells them why he said so. Apparently, King Gilgamesh just returned from his quest for the Herb of Immortality. He only set out on this quest after the death of his friend Enkidu. He has returned from this quest, which means his friend Enkidu should have been dead a long time. Enkidu realizes that he has been found out, and he reveals his true intentions. He attacks the group, but they manage to work together to try and subdue him. Their attack on Enkidu proves to be useless because he is far more powerful than them. However, Enkidu decides to retreat when he realizes that he has been caught in an illusionary spell halfway through the fight. Enkidu also deduces that the man who just came is a mage working for Gilgamesh. After Enkidu's disappearance, the mage tells Fujimaru and Mash that Enkidu is working for the King of Mages. They don't know if he is the real Enkidu, but that is what he introduces himself as anytime he destroys a city. The mage decides to introduce himself to the duo. He is about to do so when Fu attacks him and calls him Merlin. Apparently the beast knows who he is, and they are familiar with each other. Merlin is Fu's former master as it appears. The woman with Merlin is called Anna. The duo are servants. Anna is a very reserved girl who doesn't like to talk much. Back at the HQ, Dr. Roman is shocked that the duo has just run into Merlin. He says Merlin is the great mage of the Isle of Britain, born of a human and an incubus. Merlin is known to have guided the Altria Pendragon to the throne and served as a court mage. Merlin revealed that he was summoned to this time. The person who summoned him is his master, and Merlin now serves as his court mage. On the other hand, the influence of the Grail summoned Anna. She currently has no master, which means she is a rogue servant. She and Merlin crossed paths 2 days ago, and they made a contract to achieve their goals. Merlin then assures the duo that he is there to work with Chaldea. Merlin informs the group that they need to rest, so that they can continue their journey to Uruk the next day. Fujimaru offers his hand to Anna, but she rejects them and tells him not to touch her. That's harsh, girl. The following morning, the group begins their journey to Uruk. Merlin explains that the rise of the 3 divine beings has dealt a devastating blow to the cities. This is why they have all evacuated to Uruk. The demonic beast's invasion in the north is the most serious issue at hand. They are currently wiping out the major force of humanity. This is the reason the king has constructed the wall to protect humanity. If Uruk falls, it is the end for humanity. What Fujimaru and Mash need to do is find the Grail sent to this time by the Mage King. They are also to take down the 3 divine beings' alliances. The retrieval of the Holy Grail will give them an idea about the King of Mages' plan. Merlin further adds that Uruk is currently being ruled by the powerful King Gilgamesh. He is the most tyrannical of all the ancient kings. He severed his ties with the divine beings because he claimed that they were arrogant. Gilgamesh also believes that all treasures in the world belong to him. Gilgamesh was a hero born of divinity and humanity. After he became a tyrant, the divine beings created Enkidu to reprimand him. However, the duo became friends. Merlin assures them that he will tell them the rest of the story later. They soon arrive at the gate of the city, and they are allowed passage into the city after Merlin shows one of the guards the sigil that is with him. They are blown away by the size and infrastructure of the city. The people also look very lively, and they are not acting like there is a war going on. The activities inside the city are in order and everyone has something to do. They will tour the city later, but they need to see the king now. The king is staying at the ziggurat. The ziggurat is a shrine and altar for the Mesopotamians. They enter the throne room while the king is receiving the daily reports from his assistant, Siduri. Merlin holds Fujimaru's hands and takes him to the presence of the king for introductions. It appears that the king knows who Fujimaru and Mash is, but he reveals that he wants to test their strength. He challenges the duo to a battle. Merlin knows how powerful Gilgamesh is, so he tells Anna to lend the duo a hand. The trio goes after Gilgamesh, but he doesn't leave where he is standing to repel their attacks. They throw several attacks at him, but he easily nullifies them all. He considers the fight over when the trio couldn't land a hit on him. He tells them to leave his presence because he doesn't want anything to do with them. Fujimaru tries to tell the king why they are there, but Gilgamesh lets him know that he possesses all knowledge. Therefore, he knows who they are and the reason why they are there. To shock them further, Gilgamesh brings out the Holy Grail and says he is in possession of it. He knows that the 3 divine being alliances are also after the Grail. Gilgamesh considers the Grail as part of his treasures and sees no reason why he should give it to Fujimaru. Fujimaru then offers to defeat the 3 divine beings alliance in exchange for the Holy Grail. Gilgamesh hears this and bursts into laughter. Gilgamesh cannot believe that Fujimaru has hopes of defeating the 3 female divine beings. Just then, one of the guards enters to tell Gilgamesh that one of the members of the 3 divine beings, Ishtar, is heading for the city. He has not finished his statement when Ishtar bursts in through the roof. Fujimaru recognizes her as the woman in the golden armor. Gilgamesh makes fun of Ishtar by saying she still cares about people. This infuriates her and throws a magic attack on Gilgamesh, but Mash steps in and intercepts the attack. Anna and Mash engage Ishtar, but she is way above their league and she easily knocks them to the ground. She is about to finish Anna off, but Fujimaru stands in the way. Suddenly, Ishtar changes her mind and decides to spare her. She tells Gilgamesh that she was just taking a stroll and decided to drop in. She gets on her flying device and flies out of there at a blinding speed. Gilgamesh is very familiar with Ishtar and he knows her as a nuisance. Gilgamesh tells Fujimaru that he is not ready for his Chaldean field trip, but he is free to stay in the city if he wants to help. After leaving the throne room, Merlin tells Fujimaru that they need to work their way up if they are to get an audience with Gilgamesh. Siduri will be in charge of their stay. She will design assignments for them. Having noteworthy achievements is the fastest way to get Gilgamesh's attention. This includes working menial jobs in the city. Siduri takes them to their home base, which is also counted as the Chaldean embassy. After settling in, Mash deploys a holographic monitor station to connect with the HQ. Dr. Roman tells Fujimaru that they need to be careful because they don't know who their foe is. They are in the middle of this conversation when several other servant mages arrive. Shortly afterward, they sit down at the table to discuss and drink. Fujimaru is surprised that Gilgamesh has summoned several servants to assist him. Among the servants are Benkei, Leonidas, and Ushiwakamaru. They are soon served with a plate of mutton and Fujimaru comments on how delicious and juicy it is. Anna is most concerned about the butter cake that was served. She even asked to keep some for later. Siduri tells her to do so, but she should make sure to eat it before noon the next day. Moments later, Siduri tells Fujimaru about how Gilgamesh watched Enkidu die. He buried him in the underworld after his death. Fujimaru asks if Gilgamesh knows that there is a fake version of Enkidu who has been made into his enemy. Merlin says Gilgamesh is aware, but they haven't met in person. The next day, Fujimaru and Mash are given their first assignment. They are to assist the builders in molding bricks. As days passed, they were given several other tasks to do. One day, Fujimaru asks Anna how she has been surviving. It is widely known that masters who contract servants provide them with a portion of the magical energy used. Anna narrates that she remembered waking up in the forest and she immediately knew what to do. She just had to kill the demonic beasts. She killed them, and has been using their souls to maintain her spirit origin. Fujimaru offers her a chance to contract with him, but she humbly refuses. In the next scene, the group receives a message from Siduri that she has no tasks for them that day. It will be considered as their off day. They should use the day to enjoy Uruk. Since it is their off day, Anna asks the duo to escort her somewhere. They get to a cave where they fight off evil spirits dwelling inside of it. Anna reveals that the evil spirits are like grim reapers spreading throughout the city. Anna then asks Fujimaru why he has been free to interact with the people of this era. Fujimaru tells her that he sees them no different from the time where he is from. He just wants to help, and that is what is most important. A month has passed since Fujimaru and Mash arrived in Uruk. They are already used to living in Uruk. They have daily tasks to do, and they don't even complain again. After the day's work, the duo is returning home when they see a homeless man in a dark alley. They deduce that he is hungry and needs care. Fujimaru suggests that they help him, and Mash agrees. Fujimaru gives the man a loaf of bread to eat and quench his hunger. The man appreciates their kindness and decides that he will give them something in return. He tells the duo that 3 storms will soon sweep over Uruk. He continues further by saying these words: "Empathize not with the hateful one, celebrate not with the joyous one, and extol not the pained one." After saying this, he disappears without a trace. Fujimaru and Mash realize that storms are coming to Uruk. Later that night, Fujimaru finds it hard to sleep, and he stays outside to think about what the old man said to him. Mash soon joins him there. Fujimaru talks about the people that they have lost during the course of the journey. He remembers how they lost the director also. Mash tries to comfort him that all the losses were not in vain. They were able to repair 6 singularities. Fujimaru wonders if he has always made the right decisions. Mash assures him that the decisions he has made so far are correct. This is why she will always be there to support him. Fujimaru thanks her for the vote of confidence and then assures her that he will make sure to believe in his own choices too. The following morning, Fujimaru and his team visit Gilgamesh in his chambers. Gilgamesh is holding that grail when they enter the throne room. Gilgamesh praises them for what they have been doing. He acknowledges their achievements so far. He then tells them to head to the city of Ur and investigate what is going on in the land. After leaving Gilgamesh's presence, Fujimaru talks about how the king is in such a good mood. He even showed them the Holy Grail. However, Fujimaru believes that the Grail is different from the other 6 he has recovered. Merlin then commends Fujimaru for noticing the difference. Merlin then tells Fujimaru that the cup with Gilgamesh is not the Grail. He has no idea who is in possession of the Grail. He is very sure that Gilgamesh is not with the Grail. Who has the Grail? is still unknown at the moment. Before leaving for their quest, Uchiwa finds him and wishes him good luck on his quest. As soon as they leave the city, they start encountering demonic beasts. Merlin explains that there are several species of demonic beasts, and there are some that Fujimaru has not even come across yet. He hasn't finished explaining his story when the group leaves him behind. They soon find themselves in the jungle that leads to Ur. As they make their way through the jungle, they soon get tired and exhausted from the intense sun beating them. Merlin is frustrated, and he regrets why they didn't hire a guide for the journey. Just then, they hear a female voice come from the woods. The person behind the voice appears in a jaguar costume. She introduces herself as the Jaguar Man. Anna tries to attack her, but she disappears into the forest again. She tells the group that they will meet again. She tells the group that their next meeting will be their test, so they should get ready. They soon arrive at the city of Ur. They find out that the trees are encroaching inside the city as well. They are shocked to see that the people living inside the city are perfectly safe. However, the people look sad, which is not supposed to be. They tell the people that they are in the city per the request of the king. Since they know that everyone is safe now, they can go back to tell the king to send a rescue party. However, the people say there is no need for that. They say Ur is very safe, so there is no need to move or be rescued. Later that night, Merlin tells Fujimaru to gather the city folks the next day because he has something to discuss with them. The following morning, the people are already gathered. They all look gloomy and sad for people who are safe. Merlin speaks with the people's representative. He asks why they don't want to be rescued. They tell him that the city is perfectly safe as long as the jungle surrounds them. The demonic beasts will have no access to the city as long as they obey the rules of the forest's divine being. Merlin is able to deduce why the people are safe in the city. He says they have been making sacrifices. He assumes the sacrifice to be a person per day. This is the reason they don't have many males among them. They try to defend their actions by saying the sacrifices are necessary. All they need to do is offer one sacrifice a day to Eridu, and they are safe. This infuriates Mash, but the people say they shouldn't judge them because they have not met the forest's divine being. She is a terrifying divine being. Just then, the girl from the forest shows up. It dawns on Fujimaru and his team that the girl is the forest divine being in question. Jaguarman says all the sacrifices she has received have been forced to hard labor over at Eridu. She tells the group that she won't allow them to rescue the people. She summons her staff to let them know how serious she is. Anna and Mash also summon their weapons too. A fight ensues between the trio, but it is pretty one-sided. The duo couldn't get a hit on the Jaguar Man. Fujimaru faces Merlin and asks for advice. Merlin tells him that the girl may not look like much, but she is of divinity, which means she's very powerful. They have no chance against her, and they need to retreat. Jaguarman is about to eliminate Anna when Fujimaru makes the decision that they should run. Merlin creates a teleportation portal and takes all of them out of there before Jaguarman finishes them off. After they have successfully escaped, Fujimaru says they need to report their findings to the king first. One morning, Fujimaru and the team are shocked to see Gilgamesh in their home. He tells the team that he is going to personally give them their assignment. He wants them to survey the water quality of the Persian Gulf. Surprisingly, he will also be escorting them on the journey. However, only Fujimaru and Mash will be going on the assignment. They are headed for the observatory at the Persian Gulf to gather some seawater to bring back to Uruk. Gilgamesh personally secured the cart and donkeys that were being used for the journey. On their way there, Gilgamesh says he is only accompanying them because he wants to look at the sea. Back at the HQ, they are listening to all of their conversations and they are enjoying them. Later on, Gilgamesh stops the carriage and asks Fujimaru and Mash to tell him about their tales. Mash talks about the first time she met Fujimaru. When it was Fujimaru's time to speak about his tales, he simply talked about the fun time he had with the team. After they are done, Gilgamesh makes fun of them and says that their tales are pretty boring. Soon afterward, the trio makes it to the observatory. Gilgamesh tells the duo that the researchers at the observatory have gathered the water that they will carry back to Uruk. Mash wants to know if the water in the area is so precious that it needs to be studied, but Gilgamesh refuses to give an answer. Upon entering the observatory, the researchers are surprised to see the king in their midst. They had no idea that he would be coming over. This would have given them the time to prepare well for his coming. Fujimaru is introduced to the researchers. Later that day, Fujimaru and Mash visit the beach near the observatory. Gilgamesh is staying back because he has things to do. As they sit down at the beach, they are also communicating with Dr. Roman at the HQ. He talks about how peaceful the environment is. He tells them that the seventh singularity is greater than the other six that they have visited in the past. Mash also remembers the advice she got from one of her trainers in the past. She tells Mash to always protect the weak no matter where she finds herself. They are still in the middle of this conversation when the duo finds out that there is something beelining toward them. Mash quickly puts up her shield to protect them from what is coming to them. The unknown object finally lands on the beach, and they are surprised to see Enkidu in front of them. Enkidu walks toward them and he is surprised that they are going to dangerous places without escort. He tells them that they are right, and he is not actually the real Enkidu. He says he is an enemy to humans until he is destroyed. He conjures an inexhaustible number of blades and fires them at the duo. Mash uses her shield to try and protect them, but it is not even enough. She gets knocked to the ground. She's almost eliminated, but Fujimaru pushes her out of the way. Enkidu creates a blade that would eliminate the duo if not for the timely interference of Gilgamesh. The moment he sets his eyes on Gilgamesh, Endeku holds his head like he is in pain. A fight ensues between the duo. Fujimaru and Mash tries to tell Gilgamesh that he should be careful because he is fighting an Enkidu imposter. Enkidu says he's the most powerful creation on the planet and no one can stand in his way. Enkidu further adds that Gilgamesh is his mother's enemy. This calls for the need to kill him. The fight between the duo is a terrifying sight to watch. The two powerful beings create devastating magical attacks to fight each other. Enkidu creates a very powerful spell that puts fear in the heart of Fujimaru and Mash. They are scared that the attack will take out Gilgamesh. After the attack hits the target and the dust clears off, they see Gilgamesh standing and unharmed. Enkidu changed the path of the attack at the last minute to hit the ground. Enkidu looks straight into Gilgamesh's eyes and flies off. After he left, Fujimaru and Mash thanked Gilgamesh for his help. However, he tells the duo that he didn't do anything. Enkidu could have killed them if he wanted. He has no idea why he didn't. Gilgamesh tells the duo that it is time for them to go back to Uruk. He has seen what he wants to see and has no business in the area again. Later on, Enkidu is seen holding his head on a mountain. He wonders why he retreated when he could have ended Gilgamesh. A part of him wants to discuss with Gilgamesh when he should be looking for ways to kill him. He finally makes up his mind that Gilgamesh must be killed. He is not Enkidu after all. Up next, Gilgamesh calls Fujimaru and his team to his throne room. He wants them to go fetch him the Tablet of Destinies. The tablet is a recording of a future that Gilgamesh saw in a past meditation. He wants them to go to Kutha and return with the tablet. Kutha is one of the cities that are under the control of Ishtar. They will have to face Ishtar one day, he says. After they leave the throne room, Merlin tells Fujimaru that Kutha is now a wasteland. After the alliance of the three divine beings, the city suddenly went into desolation. The citizens died in their sleep and no one knows the reason behind it. They start packing the things needed for their journey. Anna will also be accompanying them on the journey. Ushiwa would have loved to join them on the expedition, but she is heading to the North Wall. Anna is so excited about the journey that she even forgets that they are going the following day. Later that night, Ushiwakamaru comes to talk to Fujimaru. Fujimaru tells her that her tale is well known in his time. The heroic activities she did are well known in his time. Ushiwa sees how nice Fujimaru is, and she pledges allegiance to him. She says she is currently serving Gilgamesh, but she will always be there to protect Fujimaru also. Fujimaru doesn't want the pledge to seem like he is her master, so he makes one to her as a friend also. Though their battlefields differ, their hearts will always be together forever. This is Ushiwakamaru's pledge to Fujimaru. The following day, the team begins their journey to Kutha. They soon find a herder who is tending to his sheep in a desolate area. They ask him what happened to the location. He tells them that what they are seeing is Ishtar's handwork. She robs them and destroys things in the area. They still cannot fathom the fact that a divine being has resorted to being tyrannical. However, Fujimaru still cannot bring himself to hate her. Soon afterward, they arrive at the entrance of Kutha. Fujimaru can see from a distance the amount of destruction that has been done to the city. In addition to that, there is no sign of demonic beasts in the area. It's as if the beasts are afraid to enter the city. They are not even making any effort to. The team decides to camp on the outskirts of the city and continue their exploration the following day. That night, Fujimaru does a bit of physical exercise while Anna and Mana are sleeping. He knows that Mash has been protecting him, but he wants to be useful also. The following morning, the group makes their way into the city. The city might be small, but it is still too big for the tablets they are looking for. Since the beasts won't enter the city, they decide to split up and look for the tablet. They need to find the tablet before nightfall, or else they are in trouble. They are also counting on Fu, because he might not look much, but he actually packs a punch. They soon split up to find the tablet. Shortly afterward, Fujimaru feels like he saw a human shadow behind him. He starts looking for the anomaly. Back at the HQ, they have lost Fujimaru's signal. He follows the trail of the anomaly to a cave. Suddenly, he is surrounded by skeletons in black robes. They inform him that he is in the underworld and he has no business being there. It appears that the men in black are ghosts. They are about to hurt Fujimaru when their leader shows up and reprimands them. It turns out that their leader is the same old man whom Fujimaru gave the loaf of bread. He is aware that Fujimaru didn't intentionally enter the underworld. Because of this, he decides to return Fujimaru to the land of the living. He gives Fujimaru a message to give the mage. He tells Fujimaru to tell the mage that all is well in the underworld. Before Fujimaru returns, He introduces himself as Zyusu. Shortly afterward, Fujimaru opens his eyes to find himself in the middle of his group. Surprisingly, Fujimaru is holding the Tablet of Destinies in his hands. Fujimaru tells Merlin the message that Zyusu asked him to deliver. Just then, a magical energy starts to approach the group. The signal turns out to be Ishtar. She tells the group that she heard they questioned the herders. She defends herself by saying the money she collects from the ranchers is payment for saving them from the demonic beasts. Ishtar is tired, and she attacks the group immediately. Fujimaru uses himself as bait. Ishtar comes after him, but Anna uses her chain attack to trap her, and she is knocked to the ground. Ishtar looks up and passes out. She soon wakes up to find herself tied up. Fujimaru says they have a few questions for her concerning the Divine Being Alliance. Fujimaru first asks her why the Divine Beings are attacking Uruk. She reveals that she and the other two Divine Beings are in competition to see who will destroy Uruk first. They want to obtain the Grail in Gilgamesh's possession. Whoever gets the Grail will gain the right to rule the land. Fujimaru wants to know the real name of the other two divine beings, but Ishtar says she can't divulge the names even if she is under the threat of death. However, she tells them one thing. She says she was summoned by the temple in Uruk. The other two divine beings were drawn here by the Holy Grail. Suddenly, they are surrounded by ghosts. The group prepares to escape, but Fujimaru frees Ishtar before they do so. Ishtar is surprised by this, and she ends up creating a path for the group to escape. Fujimaru thanks her for her help, and this amazes her once again. One night, Fujimaru wakes up from a nightmare. He sees himself in front of the Mage King, Solomon. He tells the group about his dream. Apparently, Fujimaru came across Solomon when they were retrieving the fourth Grail in London. It is a miracle that he survived the encounter. They need to get the last Grail in order to stand a chance against Solomon and other powerful mages. After the discussion, the group decides to take a trip to the Northern Wall. There have been intensified attacks of demonic beasts in the area. Shortly after they get to the location, some demonic beasts breach the wall. Mash, Leonidas, and Anna easily eliminate the few that make it through the wall. The second wave arrives, but they are eliminated as well. The third wave of the beasts comes rushing toward the wall, but a big cannon is used to wipe them out. Leonidas tells the soldiers to get ready for another wave of attack. Fujimaru asks about the cannon, and Leonidas explains to him. He says it is a weapon that fires Gilgamesh's treasures and blows the enemies away with its magical energy. Gilgamesh is ready to do anything in his power to win the war. For the rest of the day, Leonidas has the group setting bricks in layers. After the day's work, the group is already tired, but they are served with a good meal. Uchiwa tells the group about the situation at the war front. She says they have been prioritizing the rescue of children and women. The demonic beasts have been organizing themselves lately, and there is no way they can brute force their way through them. Fujimaru wants to rescue any citizen who is in trouble, as long as there is a chance for them to be rescued. Later that night, Anna and Merlin sit down for a conversation when Fujimaru and Mash are asleep. Merlin says she knows the reason why Anna is weary of humans. It's not that she is afraid of humans, doesn't want them to find out who she is. From the conversation between the duo, it appears that Anna is of divinity, but she is trying to hide it. It will come as a big surprise when the group finds out who she really is. It might also be a trump card for them in the course of the war. Merlin knows that Fujimaru won't care if Anna is a divine being or not. Merlin and Anna conclude that there is nothing that stops them from fighting for humans. They might be different from them, but some of them are worth saving. The following morning, the soldiers gather themselves in preparation for the exploration outside the wall. Fujimaru looks very nervous, but Leonidas finds a way to calm him down. The group moves out with the soldiers. Uchiwa and the soldiers are to engage the demonic beasts, while Fujimaru and the rest get on to the other task at hand. They are headed for Nippur to rescue citizens that might be there. Shortly afterward, Uchiwa finds out that the beasts have found out about their tactics and are now after Fujimaru. Fujimaru and his team get to the city and find out that no one is around. Fujimaru is sad that they didn't make it on time. However, they see a red liquid trail on the floor, and they follow it immediately. They get to the center of the city to find Enkidu standing in the middle of the red trail. Fujimaru asks him what he has done with the citizens of the city. Enkidu says they are currently being used as a source of nourishment. He reveals that humans are the instruments and tools used in the creation of the demonic beasts. Fujimaru gets angry and says Enkidu is nothing like the original Enkidu. He counts the fake Enkidu as just a humanoid doll of the original Enkidu. Enkidu wastes no time in engaging the group. He summons the demonic beast, Ugalu, to fight the group. Ugalu is a giant demonic beast that looks like a lion. Anna is excited to go against the beast. Fujimaru tells Merlin to assist Anna, and he agrees. He casts a spell that makes Anna's blade more powerful than it already is. Anna cuts through the monster in one sweep of attack. Just then, fake Enkidu grabs Anna and uses chains to hold her down. He deduces that Anna is strong, hence the need to kill her ASAP. He is about to eliminate her, but Merlin tells Fu to do something about it. He knows that Fu has magical energy stored up, and it is needed now. Fu releases the energy within him to Anna. Anna is charged up and she escapes the chains that hold her down. This even surprises fake Enkidu. Suddenly, a giant serpent with a human head emerges from under the city. Dr. Roman analyzes her immediately. He says the serpent's spirit origin is a divine spirit class. Its classification is an avenger, the one that seeks revenge because of resentment. It is known as the 8th class that shouldn't be. The serpent faces them and says she is Tiamat, the mother of all beasts. She is the head of the 3 goddess alliance. Tiamat is humanity's sworn enemy, and she wants to destroy them. Fake Enkidu is surprised to see himself standing in front of Tiamat. Apparently their plan is for Tiamat to wake up on the last day, but plans have now changed. Tiamat is ready to eliminate Fujimaru, who is also known as humanity's last master. Tiamat attacks Fujimaru, but Merlin intercepts the attack and nullifies it. He tells Fujimaru and Anna to run away while he fights Tiamat. He is immortal, so he has nothing to be afraid of. Merlin almost craps his pants when he realizes that Tiamat has the Eye of Petrification. He wastes no time in telling Fujimaru that he would like to follow them. Tiamat is about to extinguish them when Uchiwa arrives with vengeance running through her body. She cuts off Tiamat's attack and tells the team to escape while they can. She starts to fight Tiamat without fear in her. Fujimaru is reluctant to leave, but Uchiwa promises that she will return to them. After their departure, Uchiwa continues her fight with the serpent. She puts up a good fight, and even Tiamat is amazed. Fujimaru and his team manage to make it to the walls. Just then, Tiamat emerges from the ground. She has beaten Uchiwa up, but she commends her for her bravery. She is about to rain down terror when Leonidas shows up with what appears to be very strong soldiers. Leonidas tells Fujimaru and the others that he and his men will take it from where they stopped. Tiamat attacks Leonidas and his troops, but they raise their shields to block the attack. She tries to use her mystic eyes too, but it doesn't work. Tiamat is frustrated that there are people who are able to block her petrification attack. Leonidas reveals that his ancestor is Hercules, the son of Zeus. Leonidas is the king of Sparta, a country given praise by Ares. Leonidas says he knows Tiamat's true identity because the real Tiamat doesn't have petrification eyes. Tiamat's attack has eliminated all of Leonidas's men, leaving only him. Leonidas uses his most powerful attack to go after the serpent being. He passes through the serpent with the attack and calls out her real name, Gorgon. Leonidas falls to his knees as he turns to dust slowly. Just as Leonidas dies, Uchiwa manages to stand up when she learns who the serpent is. She too activates her greatest spell and sword skills to go after Gorgon. She runs around the serpent and delivers cuts at blinding speed. She uses all of her strength, but Gorgon defeats her in the end. This shocks Fujimaru because no one thought the serpent would be this powerful. Gorgon is ready to destroy Uruk and everything in it, but Enkidu stops her. He says they still need the humans for now. The birth of the beast still depends on them. Gorgon tells Fujimaru and the rest to thank her son for restricting her. However, she will be back in the next 10 dawns to destroy Uruk and everything else. After her departure, Fujimaru asks Enkidu what his real intentions are. He then reveals his true name, which is Kingu. Kingu is known as the divine being who led the offspring of Tiamat in Babylonian mythology. Kingu says he has been designed to replace humans. He is the next generation of humanity. After telling them all of this, he leaves too. They return to the wall where all the troops are gloomy because of the death of Leonidas. He has always been a strong leader and the perfect soldier. He has defended the wall for months. The soldiers look depressed and unwilling after this. Just then, Ushiwa's assistant, Benkei, also tells Fujimaru that he is dropping his arms. He sees himself as a coward who is not worthy of what they do at the wall. Fujimaru tries to convince him, all to no avail. After Benkei's departure, Fujimaru manages to motivate the rest of the troop to continue what Leonidas started. They can start by fixing the damaged part of the wall. Later on, we see Uchiwa waking up in one of the factories where the demonic beasts are being created. She comes face to face with Enkidu. She immediately knows that Enkidu and Tiamat plan to use her as seed to create demonic beasts. Uchiwa is bound to a brain-like place where she will slowly morph into a demonic beast. Uchiwa starts to mock Enkidu and Tiamat for their plans to destroy humans and have Enkidu take over. This infuriates Enkidu. He removes Uchiwa from where she has been kept and says he will take her to Tiamat herself. He cannot wait to see the type of monster she will become. Up next, Fujimaru and his team have a meeting with Gilgamesh. They talk about what they have learned so far. They now know that Gorgon is involved. Merlin tells them the story of Gorgon. She was one of the 3 sisters in Greek. Their youngest sister, Medusa, angered Athena and she punished her for it. She exiled her to a remote island and her other 2 sisters decided to follow her too. While they are on the island, heroes and other humans seek to eliminate them. However, the sisters wiped out all of the people that came after them. Medusa loses her mind during all of these and ends up consuming her own sisters too. She is then born of divinity with the powers of 3 sisters combined. Her hatred for humans runs deep, because of what they did to her. Meanwhile, Anna has awakened somewhere else after escaping Enkidu's chain in Nippur. She starts making her way back to Uruk. Now to go ahead with their plan, Gilgamesh says they must find a way to bring Ishtar to their side. He leaves Fujimaru with the task to do so. Fujimaru and his team prepare to leave the city for their mission. Just then, they run into Anna. They are happy to see that she is alive and well. She apologizes that she was not much help back in Nippur. They tell her that they have a new mission already. They are heading towards Mount Ibi. It is said that Ishtar's temple is there. They are traveling there to try and convince her to join them. Soon afterward, they arrive at Ishtar's temple. They have not even used a minute when Ishtar shows up and attacks the group. She says they have no right to just waltz into her temple. Fujimaru tries to tell her that all they want to do is talk. She doesn't care because she claims that she is no friend to humans. She is ready to eliminate the group without mercy. She attacks them again. This time, Anna and Mash fight back while Merlin and Fujimaru make a plan. Merlin creates an illusion of Fujimaru to give the original Fujimaru the chance to get close to Ishtar. Fujimaru faces Ishtar and pours out gems and treasures. Ishtar freezes up immediately. Apparently, Ishtar is engrossed with gems and jewelry because she gets none as offerings. This is Gilgamesh's plan to recruit her. Ishtar stopped attacking when she saw the gems. Another cart full of gems is shown to her. They also promise her 25% of Gilgamesh's treasure if she is willing to fight for them. Ishtar cannot say no to gems. It is a very good offer that she cannot pass up. She tries resisting the temptation, all to no avail. She ends up saying yes to the deal, and this makes them happy. She says this is the start of a new relationship between them. She arrogantly tells Fujimaru to kneel down and kiss her feet as a form of their contract together. Later that night, Roman asks Ishtar some questions about the human body she is using. She assures Roman that she didn't kill the owner of the body and she didn't destroy her soul as well. They are merged together, but Ishtar takes 70% of everything. The owner of the body is perfectly safe, and this gladdens Roman. The group and Ishtar start their journey back to Uruk. They are happy that Ishtar is now on their side. They now have a chance in the war. Ishtar is known as the most powerful divine being in Mesopotamia, so that should count as something. Ishtar is blushing from all the flattery she is hearing from the group. She tells them to calm their minds because she has not even done anything amazing in front of them yet. They also talk about her weapon, which is called Gugalana, the bull of heaven which was given to her by the divine being, An. The weapon would be a last resort in defeating Gorgon. They soon make camp to rest and continue their journey the next morning. Ishtar wakes up during the night to discover that Fujimaru is still awake. She is impressed that Fujimaru cares about his servants. She asks if Fujimaru is scared of her just like everyone else is, but he says no. She then starts to talk about the three divine beings' alliance. She is 100% sure that the divine being of demonic beasts will never make peace with them. The divine being of the jungle might, but she is not sure. She is the third one in the alliance, and she is now on their side. She reveals that she joined the alliance when she learned that humans want to do away with divine beings. She has been protecting humans for tens of thousands of years, and what they did hurt her. However, she is not an enemy of humans. Fujimaru is happy that Ishtar got to tell him her little secret. After this, Ishtar goes to bed. The group soon makes it to Uruk, and they meet with Gilgamesh in his chambers. As usual, Gilgamesh and Ishtar trash talk each other. He then tells the group that his plan to defeat Gordon is elsewhere. The axe of the divine Marduk, which tore open Tiamat's throat, is his target. This is the weapon he wants to use against Gordon. Gilgamesh says the axe is somewhere in Eridu. Eridu is the first city in Sumerian mythology where the divine right to rule was first given. It is located in the south, beyond Ur. This makes the team remember the jaguar man they encountered before. Ishtar tells them the way they can deal with her. There is a powerful divine being to the south, and her name is Quetzalcoatl. It is said that she is even more powerful than Gordon. She is actually the divine being in charge of the area. The jaguar man is just secondary. The jaguar is basically working for her. Just then, a guard runs into the palace to tell the group that the south gate has been destroyed. The gate is destroyed by none other than a woman named Quetzalcoatl, and she is headed for the palace. She is about to enter the palace, but she is stopped outside by Fujimaru and his team. She looks scary with the way she smiles and jokes with them. She says she has come to destroy the city a little. She is also one of the Divine Being Alliance. Merlin introduces Fujimaru to her. She is immediately engrossed with Fujimaru. She doesn't mind joining them if Fujimaru agrees to marry her. This comes as a shock to the team, but Quetzalcoatl continues her conversation before they can give an answer. She reveals that she was called by her mother to help destroy humans. She will do so on her own accord. She has made the decision to kill 100 humans per day. She is done with the day's quota and she will be back the next day to continue. Without wasting time, she summons her bird and flies away. After she is gone, the jaguar arrives to gather the people who were eliminated by Quetzalcoatl. Later on, the team meets with Gilgamesh in his chambers. They complain about Quetzalcoatl. If she continues destroying the city, it will dent the morale of the soldiers fighting the demons. They are no match for her, and they need a plan to engage her. Merlin cannot use his powers to spy on her because this will just make her angrier. Roman then suggests that the best solution is to attack. They need to infiltrate her home base. Roman has some idea where the base is. It is in a temple dedicated to worshipping her. They deduce that the temple is somewhere in the south. A strong magical energy was coming from there when Fujimaru went to investigate the city of Ur. They will now head to Eridu and destroy the temple's symbol to diminish her divinity. With this, they will have a chance against her. They will also use the opportunity to retrieve the axe of Marduk. The group soon begins their journey to Eridu. They are to pass through the jungle to get there. They wonder who Quetzalcoatl's mother is. Merlin says it can be none other than the divine being of beasts, Tiamat. They are also aware that Quetzalcoatl is fighting humans because her mother asked her to do so. This means she is not doing so on her own free will. They might have a chance in that aspect also. That night, Ishtar tells Fujimaru that Quetzalcoatl is a divine being of good. Nothing good can harm. Anything that will harm her will need to be evil. Ishtar considers Fujimaru as the only friend she has ever had. This makes Fujimaru also happy that Ishtar now considers him a friend. The next morning, as they continue their journey through the jungle, they run into the jaguar warrior again. They just ignored even with all her rants. She tries to attack them, but Ishtar puts her in her place easily. She then reveals that she has no master, and that is the reason she is freelancing for Quetzalcoatl. As usual, Fujimaru has his way with Jaguar Warrior, and he convinces her to join them. The compliments get to her head, and she quickly agrees to join the team. The jungle is her backyard, so that's a bonus for them. She promises to lead them to Eridu in no time. They soon arrive at a settlement where they see the soldiers that were kidnapped in Uruk. It turns out that Quetzalcoatl is not killing them. She delivers a killer move but uses a revival spell to bring them back to life. She has them stay in the settlement to prevent people from knowing about them. She considers them as sacrifices. Quetzalcoatl only eliminates those that stand up to her. Fujimaru plans to find a way to get Quetzalcoatl on their side. He is not relying on words alone this time around. The team soon arrives at the Temple of the Sun, which is Quetzalcoatl's abode. They can see the axe they are searching for also. The axe is much bigger than they thought. They soon come face to face with Quetzalcoatl. She knows that they are there to try and destroy the monolith that gives her her power. The monolith is at the top of the temple. Surprisingly, Quetzalcoatl is up for the challenge. She is very confident that the group cannot get past her. She is the first to attack them, and Fujimaru narrowly escapes her first attack, which would have ended him. The group comes at her at once, but she is able to hold out easily against them. The fight is nothing but fun to Quetzalcoatl. She then makes the game very simple. She dares Fujimaru to overcome her. If he can do so, he is free to destroy the temple, and that means he has won. She comes after Fujimaru, but Mash and Anna stop her. The duo steps up to fight her, but they can't even last 1 minute. Ishtar also jumps, but Quetzalcoatl easily knocks her to the ground also. Jaguar Warrior is hyped to go against Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl that she will defeat her because she has been training to do so. Roman then tells Fujimaru to run to the altar and destroy the sunstone while Quetzalcoatl is busy with the girls. Jaguar Warrior charges toward Quetzalcoatl, but she doesn't stand a chance either. The rest of the girls swoop in to assist and try to subdue Quetzalcoatl, but she easily nullifies everything thrown at her. She reminds them that she cannot be defeated as long as the powers they are using against her are good. Only evil can harm her. Even her fellow divine being, Ishtar, is tired of her. Fujimaru finally makes it to the top of the altar. At the same time, Quetzalcoatl has finished dealing with Ishtar and the rest. Roman tells Fujimaru to destroy the monolith before she gets to the top of the altar. Fujimaru refuses because he thinks he knows what Quetzalcoatl wants. All she wants is victory, he says. He drops his weapon for Quetzalcoatl to see. He then tells Ishtar to take him up to the sky, and she concurs. Fujimaru starts to free fall to the ground in an attempt to eliminate himself. He blacks out, and when he opens his eyes, he sees Quetzalcoatl standing over him. She saved him from dying, and the divine being asked him how he knew that she would save him. Fujimaru reveals that he knows Quetzalcoatl doesn't hate humans. She is impressed with Fujimaru, and Quetzalcoatl says Fujimaru is now her master. This means Quetzalcoatl has left the divine being alliances to join up with Fujimaru. Everything has been settled. Quetzalcoatl promises to let them take the axe of Marduk. She will even help them get the axe down from where he is. Roman starts to lecture Fujimaru on his decisions. He says his last choice might have brought positive results, but he needs to be careful and not be reckless. He has to follow the ways of Chaldea and carry out all instructions given to him by the organization. They are still in the middle of this conversation when the connection cuts off. Roman is frustrated because the connection got severed when he was trying to talk to him. After the discussion with Roman, Mash goes up to Fujimaru and says she believes that Roman is hiding something. Roman said the same thing to her before they left for Mesopotamia. However, they believe that he has a good reason for whatever he is hiding. That night, Ishtar finds Fujimaru seated alone. She sits down beside him. She praises Fujimaru for his bravery. He has been able to befriend yet another divine being because of this. She deduces that Fujimaru looks tired. He informs her that he has been working since the Ray shift. Ishtar is surprised that humans are really fighting to stop the war. Fujimaru has managed to retrieve the other singularities. Shortly afterward, Fujimaru dozes off, and Ishtar allows him to sleep on her lap. As he sleeps, she promises to always protect him. The following morning, Fujimaru wakes up full of energy. Just as they arrive at the city's gate, Siduri comes running toward them. It appears something is wrong. She screams out Gilgamesh's name and says everything is a mess. Siduri tells the group that she left the throne room while the king was complaining of overworking himself. She comes back to the room to find out that the king is dead. This shocks everyone in the group because it is nearly impossible for Gilgamesh to die from tiredness. Siduri continues by telling them that they have also received reports of people dying in their sleep in the city. Quetzalcoatl then cuts in to tell the team that she has an idea of what is going on. She says the phenomenon happening currently is a result of Ereshkigal's power. Ereshkigal is also a divine being, and she is the queen of Kur. Her power is the scent of sleep. The powers take away the soul of the tired and exhausted. It takes it to Kur. She reveals that Ereshkigal is one of the three alliances. This comes as a shock because Ishtar is thought to be the third person in the alliance. Ishtar then tells them that she is not among the alliance. The alliance is made up of Gorgon, Quetzalcoatl, and Ereshkigal. It then dawns on the group that Ereshkigal was summoned at the same time that Ishtar was summoned. Ishtar is known as the divine being of life on earth, while Ereshkigal is the divine being of death. Their powers come from the same deity, which means Ereshkigal has been active in Kur since Ishtar was summoned. This provides a solution to Gilgamesh's death. It means they can still do something about the king's death if Ereshkigal is involved. Since Gilgamesh's body has not been buried, all they need to do is defeat Ereshkigal, and Gilgamesh's soul will be liberated. They will need to head to the underworld where the heroic spirit is useless. Ishtar is worried that Fujimaru isn't scared about what he is about to jump into. Fujimaru says he will decide whether they will defeat her or not once they meet her. Ishtar will be the one to take them to the underworld. Ereshkigal is the supreme ruler of the underworld. Ishtar tells Anna, Quetzalcoatl, and Merlin to stay behind in the land of the living in case anything goes wrong. They will be able to negotiate for the return of Mash and Fujimaru to the land of the living. Anna says she will start an investigation into what is causing sickness in the city while they are gone. Ishtar, Mash, and Fujimaru soon arrive at Kutha. Ishtar tries to change Fujimaru's mind one more time, but he says he is sure that Ereshkigal is not a bad divine being. Ishtar activates her power to get them into the underworld, and it is a success. Those at the HQ can observe them, but can't communicate with them. Fujimaru is shocked that Kur is located under Kutha. As they go deeper into the underworld, they see souls in cages that provide lighting for the road. Ishtar tells them that Ereshkigal's palace is located just ahead of the 7 gates. Fujimaru wonders how Ishtar is well versed in the underworld when her divine powers don't even work there. Ishtar reveals that she once came to the underworld to try and defeat Ereshkigal, but she lost the battle in the worst possible way. She was disgraced in front of Ereshkigal, and she has been having a hard time dealing with her since then. They soon arrive at the gate. Ishtar tells Fujimaru that the gate will ask them a question that they need to answer truthfully. Surprisingly, the gate asks Fujimaru who is more beautiful between Ishtar and Ereshkigal. Fujimaru first picks Ishtar, and the gate delivers a shocking attack that weakens Ishtar. Fujimaru then picks Ereshkigal, and the gate opens for them. After walking for quite some time, Fujimaru is already tired, but Mash tries to encourage him. Ishtar says they have only 1 gate left because they have passed through 6 already. Just then, Gilgamesh appears from the shadows. He reveals that he actually died, but he managed to hide from the soul collectors and has been waiting for his moment. He knows his way around the underworld too. Gilgamesh sees that Ishtar is shrunk, and he asks why. Mash tells him that Ereshkigal cursed her the last time she came to the underworld. This is the reason she shrinks the more each time she passes through one of the gates. However, she still has her ability to levitate, and Ishitar looks like a cute little pixie. The group continues their journey. Gilgamesh says he can't leave the underworld without Ereshkigal's permission. Ereshkigal is somewhat powerful in the underworld, and Ishtar is pretty useless while she is there. Mash and Fujimaru are the only ones that can fight her while they are there. The duo is still alive, so they have a chance against her. Mash pities Ereshkigal because she has not been able to leave the underworld since it has been entrusted to her. She has not met new people or visited new places since she has been in the underworld. Just then, Ishtar tells the group that they have arrived at Ereshkigal's palace. It appears to be just a wasteland in front of them. Ereshkigal appears from under the ground, and she looks frightening in her state, Fujimaru falls to his knees just at the sight of Ereshkigal. However, he refuses to be in despair and he lifts himself up again. He tries to convince Ereshkigal. He says Ereshkigal is not a bad divine being and this is the reason he wants her to return Gilgamesh's soul to the world above. He also wants her to help in saving Uruk. Ereshkigal says she doesn't care what Fujimaru says. Gorgon will be attacking Uruk in 2 days and she plans on helping. She wants to gather the souls of humans to Kur. They are shocked by this because this will be the first time that Ereshkigal will have a desire of her own. She attacks Fujimaru, but Mash blocks it with her shield. Mash asks Fujimaru what his choice is. He then tells Mash that he wants one more chance to try and convince the ruler of the underworld. Ereshkigal uses her to create several spells to attack the group. Gilgamesh decides to lend a hand. He and Mash will try to create a path to Ereshkigal so Fujimaru can have access to her. Ereshkigal attacks Mash ferociously, until Gilgamesh steps in. Ereshkigal makes fun of Gilgamesh and says the attack on the dead doesn't work on her. Gilgamesh reminds her that he can still convict her using the royal authority given to him. He uses a spell to hold Ereshkigal down and starts to question her about her choice to join up with Gorgon. He asks if she has forgotten her duty to protect Sumer's people and culture. Ereshkigal is heartbroken that Gilgamesh is willing to punish her for trying to carry out her duties as a divine being. Ishtar tries to convince her sister to change her mind, but Ereshkigal just gets angrier. She tries to eliminate Ishtar, but Fujimaru jumps in to save her. Ereshkigal says she has been doing the task entrusted to her diligently, while her other half was free to roam the heavens. She is hurt that she has not been commended for her work. She has been gathering souls for tens of thousands of years. She asks Fujimaru to commend her, but he says no. He says commending her will hurt her pride. Ereshkigal gets madder and loses it. She is ready to kill anyone, including Fujimaru. Fujimaru says she is lying and all she wants is to protect humans. However, he will not allow her to lose herself. Fujimaru then uses his authority to grant Mash more strength to protect Ereshkigal from doing anything rash. Mash is granted immense power that transforms her shield into a giant one and creates an energy blast from it that weakens Ereshkigal. The blast blows off, and after the dust settles, Ereshkigal is now in her human form and not the skeletal form. Ereshkigal asks how Fujimaru knew that she was lying. He says he knew that Ereshkigal was always worried about humans. In addition, Fujimaru is well aware that Ereshkigal has always visited him in disguise from time to time. He had a hunch that the person was Ereshkigal. She taught him lots of things while she was also hiding under a guise. Just then, a sword appears from behind and passes through Ereshkigal's body like lightning. She falls to the ground and the person wielding the sword turns out to be Ziyusu. Ishtar attacks him, but he tells her to calm down. The slash didn't kill her, but severed the bond of alliance she has with Gorgon. Seconds later, Ereshkigal stands up and she is perfectly safe and okay. Ziyusu says he is a friend from a faraway place. He knows that Ereshkigal is not a bad person, and he has always seen what she is going through. This is the reason he has helped to sever the bond she has with the three Divine Beings Alliance. After this, Ziyusu disappears. Gilgamesh asks Ereshkigal to free the souls of those she has in cages. This will help boost the population of Uruk. Fujimaru then asks for her help in fighting Gorgon, and she gladly accepts. This signals the end of the three Divine Beings alliance. She promises to form a contract with Fujimaru when she has repaid his kindness. Shortly afterward, Ereshkigal releases all the souls inside the cages. She also returns Gilgamesh's soul. Gilgamesh tells Fujimaru and the rest to come straight back to the land of the living and not take any detours. As Gilgamesh returns to the surface, he mutters some words. He says it's not here after all. It turns out that Gilgamesh was even looking for something else in the underworld. Gilgamesh also remembers how his friend Enkidu died in his hands. Maybe he was looking for his friend's soul. We won't know for sure until we continue. Soon afterward, Fujimaru, Mash, and Ishtar return to Uruk. Gilgamesh calls a meeting to address the situation of things in his chambers. The remaining forces have gathered at Uruk's northern wall in preparation for Gorgon's main army. Meanwhile, the demonic beasts have gathered in the cedar forest. Their size is 10 times that of humans, which means they cannot win in the current situation. They will have to head out to the field and attack their home base. Those at Uruk will buy Fujimaru and his team some time while they march out to conquer Gorgon's home base. They are to destroy Gorgon's fort with the axe of Marduk. However, the three divine beings have a pact not to attack each other. Anyone who breaks the pact will be completely annihilated. Merlin will have to be the one to wield the axe. Merlin gives them a piece of clothing to tie around the axe so that it will be able to get to Merlin somehow. They go over the plan again. The axe will be used to smash open the temple door. Fujimaru and his team will enter the temple to fight Gordon and try to defeat her. They are reminded that the fate of the northern wall rests on the battle. Merlin waits for everyone else to leave before he has a discussion with Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh tells him that defeating Gorgon will help them to retrieve the Grail. This means that the era won't collapse, and this signals the end of their time together. This is basically goodbye if everything goes well. Mash and Fujimaru take a stroll through the city because this might be the last time there. They say goodbye to the citizens they have spent time with. One old woman finds Fujimaru and Mash. She tells the duo that she is looking for Anna. She reveals that Anna helped her out in the last couple of days. She was also the one who stopped people from burying her when she fell unconscious. She then gives Mash and Fujimaru a headpiece to give to Anna. This is her own way of saying thank you. Later that night, as they leave the city, Fujimaru decides to ask Merlin why he decided to work with Gilgamesh. Merlin then says he and Gilgamesh are somewhat similar in nature. Gilgamesh is an adjudicator who tries to put humans on a fair scale. This is why he protects mankind, but he doesn't favor anyone. Merlin further adds that he is half human and half incubus. He has tried to study humans, but he still doesn't understand them. He says humans are flawed, but the things they create are beautiful. Shortly afterward, they make a stop for the night. Fujimaru realizes that Anna is having a hard time sleeping. He then gives her the headpiece the old woman gave to him. Anna says the old woman was still nurturing flowers, even though she was blind. This is the reason she was compassionate for her. Anna might not like humans, but she wants to be like the old lady when she grows old. Anna then says she can't accept the headpiece because the woman's son was killed by demon beasts. She can't wait to go against Gorgon and defeat her. This is the reason she is there and nothing else. The following morning, those at the wall have started engaging the demonic beasts. Jaguar Warrior appears to be enjoying the scene more than anyone else. Moments later, Kingu joins the fight. Quetzalcoatl has been waiting for him to show up and she goes after him. Between the duo is very intense, and they both show why they are powerful beings. On the other hand, Fujimaru and his team are also cutting their way through the jungle that leads to the temple. Merlin signals Quetzalcoatl to throw the axe of Murdak to him. She ignores her fight with Kingu and swings the axe at Merlin's location. Merlin didn't quickly catch the axe and it ended up touching the temple's fort. Because of this, Quetzalcoatl loses half of her divinity. The axe is able to breach the door to give Fujimaru and his team access. Kingu realizes what is happening and he quickly ignores Quetzalcoatl to go back to the temple. They enter the temple and they come across the several seeds that Gorgon is using to create her demonic beasts. Mash wants to break them out, but Fujimaru stops her. He says defeating Gorgon goes above every other thing. That is their aim and they should not allow anything to get in the way. They soon get to the deepest part of the temple. Gorgon emerges from her cocoon. She is so enormous that the group looks like insects in front of her. She tells them that she is going to kill all of mankind and then die after she is done. Vengeance is what fuels her. She tries to push her logic to Fujimaru, but he is not ready to accept her. Ishtar says Gorgon is just lucky she got the power of the Grail. Ishtar further adds that the real mother doesn't need creatures to create demonic beasts as Gorgon does. Just then, Anna comes forward and says she's ready to release her divine powers, which she has been holding back. She is going to use her mystic eyes to offset that of Gorgon's. A fight ensues between the duo, and it is a fierce one at that. Gorgon is trying her best to make sure that Anna doesn't look into her eyes. Gorgon appears to be very powerful as she throws Anna around the room. The rest of the team joins in on the fight to assist Anna. Gorgon still appears to be stronger than them with the way she stands up to the whole group. She tells them not to call her Gorgon. She says is Tiamat, the primordial divine being. However, Anna disagrees with her and says she is Gorgon, the hero slayer. Anna is forced to do what she doesn't want to. She attacks her with her deadly weapon. She jumps on Gorgon and pushes the scythe into her head. She calls Gordon her other self and says they will both die together. The weapon pushes itself into Gorgon's head and she starts to break apart. She falls into the abyss and Anna falls with her. Fujimaru tries to save her, but Ishtar says she is gone. She is not getting any divine connections from them again, which means they have been eradicated from the era. Merlin tells the group that Anna's weapon is so powerful that it can even kill immortals. This is the reason she brought the weapon with her to this era. She has fulfilled her task, and she is now gone. The group discovered that Gorgon was not in possession of the Grail. She was just drawing power from the Grail to rejuvenate her lost divinity. Since the Grail is not with her, the question of who has the Grail remains. Merlin seems to have an idea of who the real bearer of the Grail is. He is able to speak it out when Kingu bursts into the room. Kingu realizes that Gorgon is gone. He feels heartbroken because she would have been more powerful if he had been by her side. He tries to attack the group, but they dodge his attack. Suddenly, they start to feel the ground shake. Roman tells them that Mesopotamia is about to go into a spatial rift. The clouds have started to turn black. Kingu then explains what is happening to the group. He says all they have done so far is according to plan. The real mother cannot be awakened if Gorgon doesn't die. It was all a trick to get them to eliminate Gorgon. The real mother, known as the sin of humanity, is about to be awakened. Merlin is injured from Kingu's previous attack and he feels very weak. Kingu says goodbye and flies out of the room. Merlin tells Fujimaru to return to Ura quickly. He says it has awakened, but it hasn't started moving yet. He tells Fujimaru to give Gilgamesh a message. One of the beasts of the counterforce, one that devours humanity, one that can only be beaten by the Seven Grand, has aroused from her slumber. The Sea of Life, the primordial mother, one of the seven evils of humanity, and one of the beasts of original sin is awake. Bright light shines around Merlin, and he vanishes after saying this. Back at the HQ, they have also detected magical energy coming from the Persian Gulf. Their numbers are in the thousands, and they are headed for Uruk. Fujimaru tells Ishtar to fly ahead of them to Uruk. Quetzalcoatl will come to pick Fujimaru and Mash midway. Shortly afterward, they arrive at the city to find out that monsters have started ravaging the city on all fronts. The creatures look like nothing from the previous monsters that they are used to. They need to secure a path to the ziggurat ASAP. The creatures turn out to be the new humans that Kingu was talking about. They get to the ziggurat to discuss with Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh tells the soldiers that they are free to stay or leave. Anyone who wants to stay should mobilize in preparation for battle. Fujimaru then tells Gilgamesh what Merlin told him. Gilgamesh says he knows what the 7 evils of humanity are. They are a series of disasters that destroy humanity. They are classified as beasts, and this is what the Mage King has awoken. Roman then tells the group that the creatures that attacked the city earlier can be classified as mass-produced Enkitus. Gilgamesh decides to give the creatures a name. He names them Lamu. Fujimaru notices that Siduri is not in the room, and he asks after her. Gilgamesh reveals that she was captured and taken to Eridu. Fujimaru offers to go to Eridu and rescue her. Soon afterward, Ishtar, Mash, Quetzalcoatl, and Fujimaru arrive in Eridu. They find Lamus torturing the civilians. Ishtar and Quetzalcoatl unleash their wrath on the creatures. Just then, Kingu arrives to take control of the rest of the Lahmu. Ishtar then remembers what Gilgamesh said in the underworld about Enkidu's corpse disappearing. It dawns on them that Enkidu's corpse was used to create Kingu. Ishtar calls him an imposter created by the utilization of Enkidu's corpse. He says he doesn't care how he was created. All that matters is that he is the child of Tiamat. Just then, one of the Lamu pierces Kingu's chest with its spike arm. Kingu's chest is pierced, and this shocks him. Lamus says his time is done, and he is now obsolete. They are the new fish in the water, figuratively. The Lamu removes the Holy Grail from Kingu's chest. Fujimaru and the rest realize that the Holy Grail has been Kingu's heart, and they had no idea. The Lamu injects the Grail and says it needs to be taken to Mother. The Grail gives the Lamu the ability to fly, and Ishtar chases after it. Kingu manages to get up, and he runs to the top of the temple, but the Lamas chases after him. The Lamas tell him that there is no use for him again. He manages to evade them, and he runs into the woods. The Lamas make fun of him as he runs away with his tail between his legs. The winged Lamu manages to knock Ishtar to the ground and continues his escape toward Mother. This infuriates Ishtar, and she goes after the Lamu with everything she has. Quetzalcoatl also calls on her bird to help in chasing down the winged Lamu. Fujimaru is reluctant to get on the bed because he doesn't want to lose sight of Kingu. Mash tells him to forget about Kingu for now. Quetzalcoatl reminds him that they need to get the Grail before it gets to Mother's hand. It will be catastrophic once Mother lays her hands on the Grail. The Grail is their priority and not Kingu. On the other hand, Kingu is still running through the woods as he remembers all the hopes he thought Mother had for him. He believed that he was special, and Mother needed him. He sees himself as Mother's son. This was the only thing he was holding on to. He has no friends or family, just his obligation to Mother. However, Mother has now discarded him. He finally gets tired of running, and he gives up. He surrenders himself to whatever the Lamas wants to do to him. The Lamas surrounds him, and Kingu doesn't even make a move. Just then, one of the Lamas turns on the rest and eliminates them. After the Lamu is done eliminating his comrades, it speaks out, and it turns out that the Lamu is none other than Siduri. She has been turned into a Lamu. She calls Kingu Enkidu and thanks him for bringing a smile to Gilgamesh's face. She says emotional things to him and reveals that she is happy to have said them. After saying these, she breaks apart and turns to dust. After she is gone, Kingu starts crying that she knows Siduri, but she doesn't know where exactly. There is a memory of her inside his head, but he can't figure out how he knows her. He is heartbroken that someone he doesn't even know is thanking him. He says he doesn't deserve Siduri's gratitude. Continuing with the Lamu's chase, the team finds out that the Lamu is headed for the middle of the Persian Gulf. They need to get it before it makes it there. Ishtar launches a blitz attack, and Quetzalcoatl also helps out. They are able to push the Lamu to the ground before it gets to its location. Quetzalcoatl tries to hold down the Lamu, but it escapes again. Just then, someone starts to emerge from the water. It turns out to be Uchiwa, and this leaves them with the utmost surprise. She looks totally different with a black face. In short, she has mutated. She tells the group not to bother chasing the Grail because they will never get past her. Ushiwaka goes after Fujimaru, but Mash intercepts her. Fujimaru tells the team to defeat Uchiwa so that they can go after the Grail. Ishtar will not be able to join the fight because she has used all of her magical energy in chasing down the Lamu. Mash and Quetzalcoatl both fight Uchiwa, and she holds nothing back. Plan to defeat her, and it works. They set her in a straight line for Ishtar to deliver a blast that turns her to dust. Suddenly, Uchiwa re-emerges again. It dawns on them that she now has regeneration powers. Uchiwa makes several clones of herself to make the battle more interesting. Roman tells the team that they can defeat her if they manage to eradicate her if nothing remains of her body. They need to wipe out all of the clones at once to defeat her. Quetzalcoatl keeps Uchiwa busy while Ishtar and Fujimaru think of a plan. Ishtar tells Fujimaru to lend her all his magical energy so she can create a blast big enough to destroy all of Uchiwa's clones. Ishtar is charged up, and she releases a blast that wipes out all of Uchiwa and all of her clones. Uchiwa goes out in style because she knows that the Grail has been delivered to Tiamat. Later on, the team uses a magecraft device to communicate with Gilgamesh. He tells them about the situation back in Uruk. He then tells them that the black sea mud is Tiamat's presence. Anyone who touches it will turn to her slave. No one must go near the black mud, and the information needs to be spread wide. However, the black mud is currently flowing toward the land. Once it touches the land, anything it touches will be darkened just as Uchiwa is. They need to prevent that from happening because that will be the end of humanity. They ask Roman for help on what they can do. Their plan is to head towards Tiamat and defeat her to stop the flow of the black mud onto land. Fujimaru, Ishtar, Mash, and Quetzalcoatl begin their journey toward Tiamat. More Lamus surface from the water, but they are not reacting to the team flying above them. The Lamas are counted as soulless creatures. They soon get into a visible distance of Tiamat, and they can see her clearly standing in the water. She still cannot move from one place. The team decides that they now have the best chance to try and get rid of her. They dive toward, but she makes a sonic wave from her mouth that pushes them back. Roman then tells them that Tiamat is creating a massive energy that is strong enough to wipe out Uruk from where she is standing if it is fired. They need to do something quickly. Fujimaru uses his command spell to enhance Ishtar and give her a better chance to use all of her power and magic. Ishtar creates a very powerful attack spell that she launches at Tiamat. The dust settles and she is nowhere to be found. Roman tells them that the spirit origin of Tiamat has been confirmed to collapse. The magical reactor she is creating has also stopped. Roman says they have successfully defeated Tiamat. They just need to wait for the ocean to return to normal so that they can retrieve the Grail. Everyone heaves a sigh of relief after hearing this. Roman is also ready to bring Fujimaru and Mash back to the HQ once the Grail is recovered. Suddenly, there is a sudden movement in the ocean. Roman is able to figure out that a megastructure is building up in the ocean. He tells the team to retreat immediately. He says the Tiamat they saw was just her brain. It is time for her whole body to emerge from the water. The team heeds Roman's warning and they start to retreat. Just then, Tiamat starts to emerge from the water and she is scarily enormous. The ocean immediately turns to the black mud, and it starts to flow further inland. Fujimaru asks if they have a chance against Tiamat. Quetzalcoatl tells him that they have no chance whatsoever. She says with her powers and Ishtar's powers combined, they still won't be able to leave a scratch on Tiamat. They just need to retreat first and rendezvous with Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh receives the news that the black mud is headed for Uruk. He tells his soldiers to raise the anchors around the city immediately. They do this, and it is able to stop the mud in the meantime. Gilgamesh steps out and says it is now time for the final battle of the Age of Divine Beings. Fujimaru and his team return to the ziggurat to find out that there are only 500 people left in the city. Gilgamesh tells Fujimaru that he needs to defeat Tiamat and protect Uruk if he wants to save this era. Fujimaru remains hopeful that everything will turn out good. Roman then sends the team Tiamat's data for a fresh start. They analyze and figure out that she is very powerful. It will take humanity centuries to reach this sort of divine arc. Roman couldn't even find one possible way of attack in all of his analysis. She is absolutely perfect with no physical or mythical weakness, Roman laments. Tiamat is the divine being of creation, which means death has nothing over her. As long as there is life on the land, Tiamat will never die. Simply, all life on Earth must die before they have a chance of beating Tiamat. Jaguar Warrior tells them that it will take Tiamat 2 days to reach land and another to reach Uruk. They simply have no idea how to stop or beat Tiamat. Suddenly, a voice starts speaking out to them. The female voice asks Fujimaru what is going on the surface. It turns out that the person talking to them is Ereshkigal. She says lots of souls have been passed down to the underworld, and that is very unusual. Gilgamesh uses his power to create a mirror that displays Ereshkigal to the group. Ereshkigal says the underworld is now crowded. Fujimaru immediately gets an idea. He tells Ereshkigal that he wants to send Tiamat down to the underworld. If death can't touch her in a world full of life, she will have it different in the underworld. The plan may be reckless, but that is the best shot they have. Gilgamesh immediately tells Ereshkigal to open the gate of the underworld across all of Uruk and bind Tiamat down in the bowels of the earth. This means that Ereshkigal will have to bring the underworld right under Uruk. She tells the group that it will take her 3 days to get everything ready. Since Ereshkigal will be ready in 3 days, they will need to hold Tiamat off for a day to give Ereshkigal a chance. Furthermore, Ishtar is to use the Gugalana to stop Tiamat in her tracks. The weapon is very powerful, so it should mean something against Tiamat. Just then, Ishtar breaks the mood and says she has lost the Gugalana. She lost it and she searched the whole of Mesopotamia but couldn't find it. Everyone's spirit is shattered upon hearing this because there is no way to hold down Tiamat. Fujimaru tells the team that they just need to survive the night and they will continue with the task at hand the next morning. He looks up into the blue sky with worry on his face. In the next scene, Gilgamesh tells Fujimaru and Mash that he considers the 500 people who survived as a great achievement. He once had a vision where he saw the ruins of Uruk, and he was the only one left. The citizens are also aware of this, and that 500 that survived means a lot. He tells Fujimaru and Mash to be proud of themselves. Later that night, Quetzalcoatl tells Fujimaru that she is full of guilt. She knew about everything that would happen before, but she didn't want to talk because she was an enemy of Uruk too. Fujimaru tells her not to think about things that way. In another place, Mash is seen discussing with Ishtar. She tells Ishtar that she is just getting used to battle. She has always feared fights, but now she considers it as something that needs to be done. She also remembers Leonidas' words to her. Later that night, Gilgamesh finds Kingu where he is moping. Kingu is in tears and has no idea why he came to Uruk's vicinity. Gilgamesh tells Kingu that he is willing to forgive him even for everything he has done. He is still using his friend's body, which warrants his compassion. Kingu's chest is still ripped open, and Gilgamesh gives him the cup he has in possession. The Grail heals Kingu, and this puts Kingu in more tears. He doesn't know why Gilgamesh is helping him. Gilgamesh further adds that Enkidu was considered the greatest weapon created by the divine beings. He believes that Kingu can still be that weapon. Gilgamesh tells him that it is the end of the world already, and he is free to do whatever he wants. His mother might be Tiamat, but he is free to make choices of his own. The following morning, Gilgamesh and the rest of the group gather for a strategic meeting. They deduce that the black mud is a path for Tiamat to walk on. The black mud must be there before she can step on the particular surface. It is basically a path made for Tiamat to travel on, which means they can restrict her movement once they can get rid of the black mud. Those at the Chaldea HQ are currently working on a way to revert the black mud to seawater. Just then, reports reach them that Tiamat has continued her advance towards Uruk, and she will get there in 8 hours. That's even shorter than what they had planned before. Gilgamesh tells the commander to take 50 elites from the wall and intercept Tiamat, but Quetzalcoatl says there is no need for that. She says her noble magical energy is enough to clear a perimeter of the black mud around Tiamat. This should slow her down a bit. She will make use of her sunstone. Thankfully, Fujimaru and his team didn't shatter it. After the meeting, Gilgamesh stands in front of the shrine to address the people. He delivers a thundering speech that lifts the spirit of the people and gets them ready to fight. Fujimaru and his team start riding toward Tiamat. They soon come into range with her. She is accompanied by thousands of Lamus that surround her like bees. They manage to get past the first wave of enemies. Just then, Uchiwa appears again just like a cockroach. Uchiwa proves to be a thorn in their flesh, but Benkei arrives to deal with her. He apologizes for leaving and he tells the team to leave Uchiwa for him. Tiamat is still 10 kilometers away and they need to get to her very fast. Mash uses her shield as a bull point to start cutting away through the llamas. They are now 3 kilometers away from the target, and they need to brace themselves for Quetzalcoatl's noble energy blast. Uchiwa tries everything in her power to try and stop the team's plan. Benkei makes sure to go down with her in the ferocious fight. Quetzalcoatl creates a very powerful blast of energy and releases it toward Tiamat. The black mud starts to burn away at an amazing speed. Caught in the blast are Benkei and Ushiwakamaru. Their spirit origin signals disappear after being hit by the blast. Tiamat is stopped dead in her tracks. This is good news for them because they will be able to open the doors to the underworld if they manage to keep slowing her down. Just then, Tiamat starts to concentrate magical energy on her rear skeleton and her horns. Before they know what is happening, she is lifted off the ground and she can now fly. This is not supposed to be possible because she is the divine being of Earth and shouldn't be able to approach the heavens. This also means that their plan to push her into the underworld will not work. Quetzalcoatl gets infuriated and recalls what she said about Tiamat not being able to get hurt by the weapons of Mesopotamia. However, Quetzalcoatl is a divinity of a distant mystic land. Quetzalcoatl says she is the ultimate power of Mesopotamia, and Tiamta is nothing to her. She creates a very powerful magical energy and shoots it at Tiamat. Fujimaru also supports Quetzalcoatl with a command spell. The energy keeps pushing Tiamat back, and it creates a very big explosion. The dust clears, and they are shocked to see that Tiamat is still standing. Roman then starts to analyze the effect of the blast on Tiamat. He wants to see if there is any place that can be used as a weakness. Just then, Gogun emerges from the sea too. The team believes that they are in trouble until she starts helping them. They are surprised to see Gorgon helping them. She tells them to leave Tiamat to her because she is ready to clip her wings. She will remind her that she crawls on the ground. Gorgon screams at Fujimaru and Mash to leave the scene immediately. As the duo leaves, we get to find out that the Gorgon that just emerged is Anna. She thanks Fujimaru for the flowers. Mash and Fujimaru are in tears as they fly away from the scene. Gorgon comes face to face with Tiamat and she releases a blast of energy that breaks off Tiamat's wings. Anna is also lost in the fight. However, the black mud is still being produced, even at a much greater rate. Fujimaru and Mash get back to Uruk to find it in ruins. The black mud is almost everywhere, and the llamas have taken over. Tiamat is almost upon them, and Gilgamesh is the only one left. He uses his magic to activate the powerful cannons that have been mounted on the city walls to attack Tiamat. Clearly feels the hit, and she has eye contact with Fujimaru. She attempts to snipe Fujimaru, but Gilgamesh jumps in to receive the hit. Gilgamesh continues with the attacks even though he is wounded. Roman tells them that a huge wave of Lamu is approaching them. Ishtar believes that it is time she gets serious too. She's about to activate her power when a bulk load of chains appears out of nowhere to attack the llamas. They are shocked to see Kingu show up and help them. He says Gilgamesh's words got to him. It turns out that the heart Gilgamesh gave him was Enkidu's heart. Kingu has felt Enkidu's wishes and his love for Gilgamesh. Kingu says he is now ready to show them what he is made of. He activates the power of the Chain of Heavens. He awakens the breath of the stars with this. He activates a very powerful spell and shoots it at Tiamat. He holds Tiamat down with the fiery chains. The chains are a momentary restraint that will prevent Tiamat from moving further. With one more step, Uruk would have turned to ashes. Gilgamesh thanks Fujimaru for his help. He's a foreigner, but he gave his all for this era. Ereshkigal tells them that she is done with the transition of the underworld to under Uruk. It is now left for Ishtar to punch a hole to access the underworld. She goes ahead to create access to the underworld. Fujimaru, Mash, and Gilgamesh fall in. Mash and Fujimaru start hovering, and Ereshkigal tells them that she made an exception for them. They do not count as living souls while they are in the underworld, which means they can still gather magical energy in their feet, which will help them to hover. Tiamat starts falling deeper into the underworld, and Ereshkigal uses her authority as the ruler of the underworld to weaken Tiamat. She says the rules of the underworld are not an exception for Tiamat. Ereshkigal commands the Galu spirits to consume Tiamat, but Tiamat does something scary again. She starts covering herself in the black mud. They are surprised that she can even corrupt the underworld. She starts to transform into another being. Her wounds are also healing up. She transforms into a dragon to prove to the team that she is undoubtedly a divine being. The corruption is so overwhelming that the team has no idea what to respond with. However, they need to defeat her while she is still in the underworld. She is at her weakest point at the moment. Tiamat throws the black mud at the team. The mud is about to hit them, but it accidentally detoxifies and turns into petals. The Chaos Tide's detoxification starts to accelerate. Their savior shows himself, and he is none other than Merlin. They are surprised to see Merlin there. Roman asks if he is resummoned, because he is trying to figure out how he is back and kicking. He tells them that he is the real Merlin, and he just came from Avalon. He assures the team that he is not dead. Their beautiful reunion gets interrupted when they find out that Tiamat has started to regrow her wings. Merlin talks about how almost everyone has done their best to try and take care of Tiamat, but she has proven to be more powerful than everything thrown at her. Getting back to the surface with the will make her completely invincible again. Merlin then tells the team who summoned Tiamat. He says Tiamat's summoner is none other than Fujimaru. Just then, Ziusu appears from above and introduces himself as the Old Man of the Mountain. He is the first Hassan-i Sabah, and he has come to bring death to Tiamat. Ziusu attacks Tiamat, and the rest of the team follows suit. They attack her with everything they have got, but she is still standing. Tiamat starts to make her attempt to leave the underworld. The black mud also creates several Lamus to attack the team. Fujimaru and Ereshkigal are told to prevent Tiamat from leaving the underworld. The Lamu have also evolved, and their attacks are now faster than it was. The rest of the team tries to eliminate Lamu, but they are a pain. One particular Lamu appears to be stronger than the rest. He alone is giving the team a tough time. He knocks down Mash. Merlin is forced to summon his sword to fight the Lamu. Merlin and the Lamu go head-to-head in a sword fight. It appears that the Lamu that just emerged is a direct offspring of Tiamat. The power they show is that of a divine class. Each of them is equivalent to a demon being. Ishtar faces the Lamu, and she even loses against them. Lamu throws her around like she is nothing. Hassan, on the other hand, is handling the Lamu pretty easily. Fear starts to kick in when they realize that they are almost at the surface, and they still cannot stop Tiamat. Ereshkigal says she will slow Tiamat down with her noble magical energy. She flies ahead to create a magical energy to try and stop Tiamat. Tiamat shoots blasts around her to weaken the whole team. Fujimaru is worried that Tiamat will make it to the surface with the way things are going. Just then, Gilgamesh arrives and rains down a barrage of swords on Tiamat. Gilgamesh looks totally different with his new appearance. Gilgamesh's attack is able to push Tiamat back to the ground. They are shocked when Tiamat activates a spell known as the Negagenesis. This is basically the creation of the universe. To prevent Tiamat from completing the spell, Ereshkigal activates a sealing spell around Tiamat. Strong rocks are formed around Tiamat to pin her down. This is basically Ereshkigal materializing the shrine given to her by Nergal. This will only give them some time before they come up with another plan. Merlin explains to the team that the Negagenesis is a spell that allows Tiamat the power to overwrite the underworld in itself. Anything caught in the bubble will be annihilated. They are surprised to see that Tiamat wields such powerful authority. However, they need Fujimaru's power to counter Tiamat's spell. He is to head into the sphere and try to deliver a fatal attack to her head. Mash will create a protection path for Fujimaru. Merlin will also use his noble magic energy at the same time as Mash. The plan gets underway and Tiamat is already trying to break out. This energy creates an easy path for Fujimaru to advance. Ereshkigal falls down because she's already exhausted. Her domain has been trampled upon and this has also affected her. She holds a handful of flowers created by Merlin in her hand as she disappears. Fujimaru continues to run toward Tiamat with the blade that Gilgamesh gave to him. Tiamat creates Lamu to try and hurt Merlin, but Gilgamesh takes care of the creatures. Some of the creatures intercept Fujimaru and try to stop him from getting to Tiamat, but Hassan appears and eliminates the creatures. He tells Fujimaru to continue toward Tiamat while he takes care of the rest. Fujimaru manages to get to Tiamat with Fao's help. He pushes the blade into her head, and this creates a crack on her body. He starts falling to the ground, and Fujimaru calls on Gilgamesh. It is now up to Gilgamesh to deliver the killing blow. He activates a powerful spell and summons a giant sword with magical energy cruising through his body. He directs the blast from the sword toward the beast, and it envelops her completely. Fujimaru is transferred to a soul plane where he comes face to face with Tiamat. She talks about how she has always been loved for nurturing many generations. Fujimaru assures her that her children love her, and that will never change. With tears in her eyes, she starts to vanish, and Fujimaru also leaves the soul plane. With Tiamat's defeat, the sky color returns to normal. Fujimaru and Mash are also transferred to the land of the living. In the next scene, Fujimaru wakes up to see Mash standing over him. They are somewhere around Babylon. Jaguar Warrior and Quetzalcoatl also show up. Quetzalcoatl and Jaguar Warrior were the one that saved the duo. They are glad that the mission was successful. Roman establishes communication with the duo. He tells them that preparations for the race shift are almost complete. Roman will also keep looking to know what happened to the rest of the team. The group looks around to find out that the black mud has completely receded. Mash suggested that they should head to Uruk because the rest of the team might be there. Quetzalcoatl tells the duo that she will not be able to follow them to Uruk. Her job as a foreign divine being is over. She tells Fujimaru that she enjoyed all their time together. Fujimaru also praises her for being a good divine being. She hugs Fujimaru as she and Jaguar start to fade away. It is now left for Mash and Fujimaru to head to Uruk on their own. Soon afterward, they arrive at Uruk. Uruk is now a desolate and empty city. The duo wears a smile when they see Merlin and Ishtar. Ishtar says she has been waiting for them. Ishtar informs them that she knows that Uruk is the best bet for their reunion. This is the reason she and Merlin came to wait for them at Uruk. Turns out that her guess paid off. Roman then tells them that he is still trying to confirm the repair of the singularities. The group makes tea so that they can discuss more while having tea. They all agree that the tea tastes better when Siduri brewed it for them, as they have tea. Ishtar tells Fujimaru that the majority of the underworld has collapsed. This was due to the beast's critical collapse and the resulting explosion. It will take almost half a century to get it to what it was. In short, both the surface world and the underworld were driven to the brink of collapse. Ishtar tells them that Ereshkigal is resting in the underworld. She was really happy to have seen flowers bloom in the underworld. She extends her greetings to the team. Ishtar tells the team that she will still stay in this era. She has been blessed with treasures and she still wants to enjoy them. Merlin says he will return to his tower in Avalon and continue to watch over Fujimaru. Merlin has never been the one to engage in a fight. He prefers staying in his tower, but Fujimaru's zeal is what gave him a rethink. Roman and Fujimaru thanked Merlin for his help. Mash also thanks him for everything he did. Merlin then gives Fujimaru a flower and tells him to do whatever he wants with it. It is dawn already. Merlin turns into flower petals as he vanishes into the sky. Elsewhere, Kingu finds Gilgamesh standing above the shrine and watching over the city. Gilgamesh tells Kingu why he chose to protect his people even though he is a tyrant. He says it is the duty of the king to protect his people no matter what. He tells Kingu that he will be the only one to know about his true intentions. Later on, Fujimaru, Mash, and Ishtar find Gilgamesh in his throne room. He tells the trio that they are late, because he has been waiting for them. He knows that Fujimaru will still come to say farewell before leaving. It is natural for a subject to bid farewell to his king or ruler. Fujimaru thanks Gilgamesh for the experience and the help. The group goes to the top of the city to look at the damage that has been done. They ask him what will happen to the city. He tells them that he will make sure that Uruk prospers again. It will not be destroyed, just like he has said before. He then reveals to the group that he actually found the herb of immortality after Enkidu's death. However, he entered a river to bathe, but before he came out, a snake made off with the herb. He wasn't angry, but realized that he would still see the light of another day. He compares this to humans and their daily lives. Usual anime logic. Shortly afterward, Roman tells Fujimaru that preparations are complete to receive him. Ishtar is reluctant to say farewell to the duo. Gilgamesh reaches into his treasures and brings out the golden cup he has always shown to them. He gives them the cup as a farewell. Fujimaru and Mash tell Gilgamesh that they had fun while it lasted. With this, the duo leaves the Mesopotamian era. In the closing scenes of the season, we get to find out that Fujimaru and Mash are preparing to visit Solomon's singularity. At this point, we have reached the end of our video. If you like it, do not forget to put the like button and subscribe for more new videos.